Welcome back because once more it is time to draw. It's me, Lynn, and I decided I was going to go for a different, a change of pace today. Um, in previous videos, I've drawn a couple of creatures and a lot of pretty girls. I haven't drawn that many male characters or real men. So, um, I'd been listening to a lot of music, and I said, you know what? Let's do something that no one would think to do. Well, surely someone out there's that would do it. But today I'm going to draw George Michael, and you can see a little bit already, perhaps, of the non-photo blue that I've gone over, since it's a little bit heavier. I mean, especially in the '80s, he had, well, any time really. His hair especially gives his features a lot of darkness. So this is, as you can guess from the title of the video, Careless Whisper. It's based on a still from that video. So my idea is to just draw for a bit and see what I can get up to. So here we go, and I just, I heard the song quite a bit the past few days. I'll listen to some music when I wake up in the mornings if I'm on a day shift, or I'll try to listen to something when I'm just trying to pass some time. Unlike a lot of some creatives are big into music. I'm one of those. Others are you detest it. I know a few writers who that are like, no, writing is a full brain operation. Me. So I'm not of that group. I listen to some music, and I've heard some George Michael lately. So I said, you know what, let's draw George Michael. Who draws George Michael? Not anybody. So if you just think that, hey, this picture looks kind of 80s, it's because it's based on George Michael from the 80s. Early mid 80s at that. Hadn't quite gone to the whole short cropped hair and sunglasses mode yet. I admire the man. He's one of those few performers that said, my music has to be more important than me. I don't care what I look like. I'm not going to be in the video anymore. I mean, that's the same mindset that fuels Daft Punk wearing robot helmets. So it's respectable. An artist trying to just be an artist. As I was prepping this, I was thinking, well, how detailed am I going to be here? How perfect is this going to be? And I decided I'm not going to pursue being hyper realistic. I'm going to use a still image to give me a basis and just go. And I realize I've said that a lot in these videos. I'm going to do fill in the blank and just go with it. And sometimes you have to do, as one of my old professors once said, you have to dare to be wrong. And the more I think about it in life, those are the people who get the furthest. Those who dare to be wrong. And there are some things in life I'm not good at daring to be wrong with. But the creative side is definitely not victim to that. So, one thing about early days George Michael is the man had his eye makeup on, and that was not always normal, typical, or anything like those lines. So I'm just studying my references here a little bit, trying to get an idea exactly where I want things. But like I say, he's got heavier features, darker features, but his eyes, especially the top part here, he was one of the first artists, at least to be accused of using mascara, just not as to try to be glam, but just to try to be him. But some people just have that heavy of feature that they actually aren't wearing makeup. That hey, that's just how dark their eyes are. But I really think that George Michael is in the category of use of eye makeup. Whether I'm right or wrong doesn't really matter. I enjoyed the man's music. You can't hear it, but I'm listening to some now, actually. I'll include a link just to let you hear a little yourself. You're probably thinking, why George Michael? Why not somebody else? Well, like I said, part of it is, who would think to draw George Michael? And part of it also is, I like the man's music. I'm doing some of the shading right now. I'm not waiting like you may have seen me do in previous videos. I'm just gonna go, kind of going for it. Now, another thing that you really have to be in from the 80s to know is that George Michael was one of the first major artists men to wear earrings, and they were always prominent. They were always there. Never a surprise to anyone. It's just that was him, and women adored him, and they did so without knowing that he wasn't really available. But that's topic for a different kind of video. Honestly, like I said, not, I just like what the man's capable of, and sometimes you can just admire somebody for who they are and what they're capable of. I'm going to do a couple of rounds of shading. One of them is going to be his suit jacket, and another is going to be on his background, the background around here. I'm just going to use a few different techniques just to get where I really want to go. There was an idea that came up between some discussions between a friend and I when I was in high school about the use of music in storytelling. And one of the ideas that we came up with was that thinking of music can be used to connect to another person. So one character thinks of a song and the other character hears it, essentially. It's kind of the idea we were going for. And I've got one book that I've worked on quite a bit over the years, where a couple of characters actually do this. These two characters in this story, the way that they get into contact with each other is they play George Michael music. So like I said, I'm not expecting this to be photorealistic. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna miss the boat completely. But my aim really is just, hey, I'll use this as a basis to draw a cool picture, right? Now, a lot of what I'm doing here is implying lines. Sometimes implying lines is just as strong as having lines directly. Cross hatching down here. Why does he keep erasing? It's just done. Well, there's a little bit still there. Alright, let's go over here a bit. We've got a thumb and The other side of the suit. So, I'm not going to go crazy detail, but, it's sometimes you have to change your pace if you want to do better things. I'm not saying use that as a reason to, not be in Wham anymore. Sometimes creatively you have to do different things if you want what you create to be good. And you can't always do the same thing over and over. I mean, you can, but eventually you're going to get sick of it. And if you get sick of what you're doing creatively, then why are you doing it? So that's a lot of what I'm doing here is keeping it fresh. Keeping things alive and as far as my creativity goes. So what's the lesson in all of this, someone may ask. The lesson is don't be afraid to do something different every once in a while. I don't do ropes very often, so this is allowing me to, expand what I do drawing wise outside of that. And what's more fun is there are 2 ropes in this picture, not 1, 2. Alright, so I say so a lot. So, yeah, I just said so. There have been a handful of singers and pop stars that I've drawn in the past. A lot of it usually comes from, hey, what am I listening to? And some of it is sometimes different from that. Um, I used with one story. I decided to use a famous Japanese singer as a visual template for appearance, and that was partially because I had to change some things in the story around, but that was partially because I kind of wanted to draw her, and it gave me an excuse to. I may draw her again at some point. Um, like I said, I've been listening to quite a bit of George Michael. And I don't have to be perfect. I mean, that's another lesson you can greatly take from art is you don't have to be perfect. In fact, being imperfect can be a really cool way to be creative. Sometimes imperfection can lead to just as much creative growth as perfection. Sort of like adaptation and improvisation. And those are the hallmarks of jazz music, is making up on the fly. And there's no such thing as a repeat performance in jazz. It's always going to be different by nature. I mean, they could go for the same thing, but they know it's going to be different. So I said, why fight it? Let's just do maybe similar, but we'll put our own spin on it. How did I do that before? I'm doing every section of the suit here. That would be its own angle. I'm doing it separately. So the slight difference, if nothing else, will imply that it is made from a different section of fabric. Drawing should be fun. Art should be fun. It's been said that it's therapeutic. Sometimes being creative is the only outlet we get, so you should use it. Part of it too with this stuff is I only use one kind of pencil, and there are times when using another is the best way to go. But I just don't want to Um, okay, and we'll round with shading on the suit, and we should be done with that. Almost done with that. And now we're going to blend it. Yay, blending! Okay, that was a terrible impression of a blender. Might be time for another cotton swab after this. Okay, and like I did before. We're just getting in the little lines here. And just about there. I know, you're probably thinking, alright, well, if you're going to go on the 80s on us, Lynn, when are you going to start drawing Don Johnson? Be careful, I just might. Just might. I mean, this is all stuff I grew up on. I may have been born at the end of the 70s, but by the time I can remember anything, it was the 80s. Yeah, we're not done shading by any means, though. Now, using a pencil is a lot different than a brush. And one place where that's clearly evident is with hair, especially when you're trying to convey small sections, but not in a super defined way. Like a brush, I could fill this in with like 3 strokes. It takes a lot longer with a pencil. It's a different beast. It acts differently. Different musics act differently. I'm kind of doing this in jagged, short motions because there are a lot of little sections that make up these big shapes. So that's any hair, but the interesting thing about hair is that you can imply a lot and a little at the same time. Yeah, that's a contradictory statement. The reason why it's contradictory is because hair is just a bunch of tiny little fibers. More lightning layers there. Okay, so we're almost done. I want the, it's a, it's a scene that's, how do I put it? It's dark background. Since it's dark background, we need to have it be dark, but at the same time, along with the dark background, it's also backlit. So I'm going to draw a dark background, and then I'm going to erase a line around it. You'll see in a moment. Let's see. So we got the dark background already started. Try this stitch. I thought about actually doing this in black paper, but I would have been wrong because if you look at the source picture, it's not that he's dark, but that the background is. And since the background is dark, then having him start from a black base would be wrong. No matter how heavy any features might be, it's the darks that pop out, not the lights. That's what I got wrong. What if I could get you wrong here? blend that around a little bit. The tricky part about drawing George Michael, apparently, is how dark do you get shading on him? That's the fun of drawing. One thing that I've heard in recent years is that with good drawings, that good art, is that most of the work, 80% of the work, comes in making the little details work. I got distracted. I try not to shift the page whenever I draw, but it's just not gonna happen with this setup where I've got everything laid out and what I need to do. With this shading is just not gonna work. That's alright. I'll have it shifted back around in no time. Alright. And just to get another level of shading, in my mind shading is immersion into the image. Just gonna make a little bit heavier shaded line to illustrate the difference between those two. Okay, so as promised, there's the shading, and you can see in some spots, all right, where does the shading end and begin? This is where. Okay. I know there wasn't much. We're going to do that a few more times. Let's do it again. Let's do it over here. All right. Again, it doesn't seem like much. It will. All right. This is the one problem with what I'm doing here. I had to redraw a line. This is an eraser after all. There. Kneadable erasers are a wonderful thing. You can give your eraser whatever shape is necessary to make the right erase. if you're going to use an eraser as an active part of your art rather than a participant to just get rid of things, then you need to be able to put it in such a way where it can add something. Okay. Really, I shouldn't have gone this far. But I can use the eraser to imply lighting effects, things like that, which is pretty cool. I'm going to go one more round of shading his face. And eventually, with any, there's the old saying, and with writers like myself, it's that nothing is ever finished. Things are just merely abandoned. And maybe that's true. Maybe not. Maybe. There we go. Just kind of doing little touch-ups here and there. Okay. Faintly doing the upper lip. The lower lip doesn't need to be faint. It needs to be pretty blatant. Go over that once, twice, 3 times. Alright, let's take a look. What do we think? Let's straighten up and give you a better look. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to be perfect? No. Not at all. It's not going to be. That's alright. We don't need it to be perfect. We don't need anything to be perfect. We just need to be able to make good art. So, regardless, I think this is a good picture. Regardless of just looking at the picture, I think it's a good picture. Is anybody going to think, hey, it's definitely a good picture? I'll leave that up to you. Feel free to mark that down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more drawing videos. Got a whole playlist with them, and I think I've done better ones before, and I'm sure I'll do better ones again. But I've had a lot of fun doing this piece. So again, this has been Lynn Berry. Time to draw. I'll catch you in the next one.